Welcome into Off the Hook Sports. I am Caleb Calhoun. Dave is out sick today, so I will be doing the show. We got a good bit to get to. We're going to talk some comments by a former Tennessee football head coach, one of the legendary ones, on the Vols QB situation. It's kind of interesting on how that all played out. We've got Paul Finebaum, who is now officially worried about the Vols. We're going to dive into some comments he made as well. The top 10 post-spring practice, where should Tennessee rank? We're going to ask that question based on what Andy Staples did on 3, and we are going to look ahead to the 2026 NFL Draft. Who are the top prospects from Tennessee in the 2026 NFL Draft? The show we are brought to you by, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. Live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used. East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. Please hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn the notifications on, tell a friend. We are building something great here at Off the Hook, and we want you to be a part of it. We obviously have this day in Tennessee sports history and stat of the day, as we usually do. So a lot of fun, a lot of things to cover, a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and dive in. Spring practice has ended in college football. All the teams and programs are ready for the summer. The NFL draft is over. That's the focus. In the midst of that, Andy Staples came out and gave his his post-spring top 25 teams. Tennessee has fallen to number 21 in Staples' post-spring top 25. Texas is number 1. Notre Dame's number 2, Clemson's number 3, Penn State's number 4, Ohio State's number 5, Oregon is number 6, Alabama's number 7, Georgia's number 8. I'm actually just going to share this with you guys real quick. This is Andy Staples' post-spring top 25. As you can see, Texas number 1, Notre Dame number 2, Clemson 3rd, Penn State 4th, Ohio State 5th, Oregon 6th, Alabama 7th, Georgia 8th, Illinois 9th, Florida 10th, Texas Tech 11th, South Carolina 12th, Auburn 13th, SMU 14th, LSU 15th, Arizona State 16th, Michigan 17th, BYU 18th, Ole Miss 19th, Miami 20th, Tennessee 21, Nebraska 22, Iowa State 23, Louisville 24, Missouri 25. That is a very intriguing top 10. Iowa State down at number 5 stands out a lot. Florida in the top 10 stands out. Georgia down at number 8 stands out. Auburn in the top 15 really stands out. If you really look at Tennessee's schedule next year on this, they still get a bit of a break, but they have to play 3 of the top 10 because they play Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. It's just that lucky for them, they play nobody else in Andy Staples' post-spring's top 25. But the question is this. Given the departure of Nico Iamaleava, and given the questions about Joey Aguilar and the rest of the talent, where should Tennessee be in the post-spring top 25? And that is today's tough question. Today's tough question is brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. The poll question is up on that. Where should the Vols rank post-spring practice with a new starting quarterback? Should they be in the top 5, the top 10, the top 25, or unranked? And that is today's tough question. Again, brought to you by Banks & Jones. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this up front. I've done a decent bit of research now on Joey Aguilar. I spoke with Will West on Friday. I understand the Nico Iamaleava departure and what that leads to people with their rankings. And just so everybody knows, Andy Staples dropped Tennessee in the teens back in January. And his exact quote was, because he left Tennessee out of his top 10 quarterback ranking too, he said he had doubts in general about the offense. His quote now is, I'm not concerned about the defense, but the Volunteers will need some young playmakers on offense to step up and help whoever wins the quarterback job, whether it's Appalachian State, UCLA transfer Joey Aguilar, redshirt freshman Jake Merklinger, or true freshman George McIntyre. So Andy Staples is actually where a lot of us are, which is he's out here saying that, Tennessee, their issues are actually beyond the quarterback. There are questions about their playmakers. They lost Dylan Sampson, and the receivers are all new. Now, that could be better, could be an upgrade. So that's where he got them outside of the top 10 and then drops them outside of the top 20 with Nico Iamaleava leaving. The one thing I will say is there is a legitimate argument that Tennessee is going to be better this year at quarterback with Aguilar than they are Nico. Now, I told you guys from the start, and I'm eating crow on this, and I will never be able to live this down, that Nico Iamaleava was created in a lab to run Josh Heupel's system. I still believe that. But truth be told, part of running Josh Heupel's system is you got to be quick with your release and you got to process quickly, and you also got to be willing to let your receivers make a play. I don't know. Nico didn't show either of those last year. Now, he was under a lot of pressure at times, and you hoped he would develop this year, but those two things are much more important than the arm strength. So I got to be honest. I think Aguilar, I don't think Tennessee should drop too much just because Joey Aguilar is on their team. I really don't. I think Tennessee, though, to be fair, their post-spring ranking, I think they should be in the top 25. I think right now, the one thing that works in their favor is, again, there might be only 3 top 25 teams they play all year. So we're talking a 9-3 season is on the table if they are in the top 25. So I think that Tennessee should be in the 20 to 25 range with Nico gone, because there are still questions about Joey Aguilar. We don't know much about his arm strength. He's a little bit of a gunslinger without Brett Favre's arm. He's got Brett Favre's gunslinging mentality without Brett Favre's arm. And that's not always the best combination, guys. I just have to point that out. With that in mind, I would say that Tennessee should be a top 10, a top 25 team, but no higher than number 20. So I actually have to say, I think Andy Staples relatively got it right. You guys give me your thoughts on the poll question real quick. The show represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, will play to win. Why settle? Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, Banks and Jones.com.
Why Banks and Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones.
Welcome back to the program. So we got the poll question up right now. Where should Tennessee rank post-spring practice with their new starting quarterback? Top 5, top 10, top 25, unranked. Man, none of you believe they should be in the top 5, huh? 0% are saying top 5, 5% are saying top 10, 81% are saying top 25, and 14%. 83% are saying top 25, 14% are saying unranked. Now, for those who are laughing at my comment, Daniel Maddox says, Favre mentality without his arm, here come 50 interceptions. Daniel, to be fair, because he did have 14 interceptions last year and he could be an interception machine. Josh Heupel's offense doesn't scheme enough to give you the chance to throw that many interceptions. He gives you a lot of options at that point. Okay. So I think that Josh Heupel oftentimes will give you a lot of easier reads and easier throws. Now, there's debates, and we're going to talk about this later in the week, guys. I'm not talking about it today, but we are going to talk about whether or not we're sure Joey Aguilar is even going to be the starter at Tennessee. Because as David Speaks points out, Dylan Gabriel did start after the Brandon Wimbush experiment failed. That is true. Dylan Gabriel was a true freshman. Josh Heupel signed him because Mackenzie Milton told him to sign him. Funny enough, Josh Heupel did not sign Mackenzie Milton. And then he went and got Notre Dame transfer Brandon Wimbush after Milton left. So I think that Josh Heupel could back off a little bit like midway through the year. All I could say is this. I think a Georgia loss is almost written off at this point. Again, I don't see any possible way they beat Georgia given the situation they're in. And I know that's like the one albatross around Tennessee's neck, but it's hard to see how they beat Georgia given the fact that I don't think they're going to have the quarterback situation settled by September. I just don't think it's guaranteed yet. So we're going to have to see how that all plays out. But I think in terms of post-spring rankings, I do think Andy Staples is right. Now, explaining some of the other ones that he named, I mean, he's betting on Texas with Arch Manning. He even says it. He said, we may as well go all in if we're going to bet on Arch Manning. That's why Texas is number 1. I would just caution Andy Staples. I went all in betting on Nico Iamaleava last year, and that didn't work out. 2, Notre Dame was number 2, and he talked about 2 of their linemen entering the transfer portal. One of them actually, ironically, now being at Tennessee. We're talking Sam Pendleton, obviously, but they have so much talent elsewhere that's why he has them at number 2. Dabo Swinney's portal work is why he has Clemson at number 3 in the way Kate Klubnik finished last season. He's got Penn State at number 4 because, again, of the transfer receivers that they added. He dropped Ohio State to 5 because of the talent they have to replace. Put Oregon at 6, just because of what Oregon has proven. Alabama at 7, based on a belief that they'll have the right quarterback win the job. Georgia, that's another standout at 8, but it seems he's worried about their lack of stock of defensive linemen, which is kind of interesting. So Illinois returning Luke Altmaier is why they're number 9, and Florida at number 10 because of DJ Lagway being healthy and them adding a couple of elite players, including 5-star freshman Dallas Wilson and transfer receiver J. Michael Sturdivant. So that's why all of those players or all those teams are in the top 25, and in South Carolina and the Lenore Sellers, Auburn returning a lot of guys, and I believe in Hugh Freeze. So you understand why all this happened. Look, from a personnel front, Tennessee did not seem to have what they need returning this year. But at the same time, we've seen Josh Heupel ball out with lesser talent before if he's got the right fit. And I think he's got to spend a little more time, and we're going to talk about this too at some point. Heupel should be spending more time on fit than finding the best players. I think that's actually been one of his biggest weaknesses, is he falls in love with the top elite players and not always the best fit, particularly at quarterback. I don't think the big arm is the most important thing for a quarterback in Heupel's system. I think intangibles matter more. I think quick release matters more. Processing matters more. I think Heupel is too often falling in love with the big arm, and it's just starting to not work at times. So, and also when you're limited on NIL funds, you need to stop wasting money on big arm quarterbacks. I mean, I just think that's kind of a weird thing to do. So I think Tennessee still they should be a top 25 team. And the poll question now has 70% saying they should be top 25. So nobody top 5, 17% top 10, 13% unranked. That shows how educated our audience is. You guys are very objective. None of y'all saying top 5. So that's a very interesting point. Timothy McGee says Faison won't start because Heupel doesn't start true freshmen. It does seem like that, although he did start Dylan Gabriel. He didn't want to. He went with Brandon Wimbush. I think Heupel should go more for true freshmen sometimes. And David says Nico should have started him, and Milton could have still had him. Yeah, but David, Milton had the team, and he knew that was a stopgap year anyway. So I think it was kind of start Milton, get through the year, keep your head above water at 8-4, which he did, and keep the team happy and together. And so it was kind of a little more politicking that was on that front. And also Nico was very, very small during that time. Portions of the program are brought to you by Chattanooga Mortgage. Congratulations, your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. Chat with 2tsmortgage.com. It is time for the stat of the day. And the stat of the day is brought to you by Double D Piping. A quick message from them.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
Welcome back. Before we get to the stat of the day, a super chat by Timothy McGee. Really appreciate it, Timothy. Why don't we go after higher conference JUCO QBs that is serviceable? Timothy, that's given Heupel's method, that's not a bad idea. I think Heupel has trouble understanding who he needs to evaluate for his system, quite honestly. And so but you could maybe consider Joey Aguilar like on the same level. I mean, he came from Appalachian State. That's like being a JUCO QB. So you could go that route. Now, as far as the stat of the day, this past weekend, Tennessee had 4 players selected in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. That marks only the 3rd time that in the post-Fulmer era that Tennessee had 4 players selected in the first 4 rounds, none of whom actually played for Phillip Fulmer. It's the 4th time overall because they had 4 players. They had like 6 in the first round of the 2010 draft, but all those players played for Phillip Fulmer. So it's the 3rd time that none of them played for Phillip Fulmer. The other 2, 2023 NFL draft following the 2022 season and the 2017 NFL draft following the 2016 season. That's not an accident. 2016, 2022, and this past year are easily the 3 best years Tennessee has had in the post-Phillip Fulmer era. The only other one is the 2015 season, but then Tennessee returned everybody from 2015. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. HempHouseChatWith2Ts.com. HempHouseChatWith2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. When we come back, we're going to talk about Tennessee's potential 2026 NFL draft picks and play a little hot or cold. Stick with us. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports.
Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at NFC1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Caleb Calhoun here. Portions of the program are brought to you by Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. HDKnoxville.com. It is time for some more NFL draft talk. Again, the poll question: where should the Vols rank post-spring practice with new starting quarterbacks? 13% say top 10, 74% top 25, 13% unranked, 0% top 5. Tennessee just had 4 players selected in the 2025 NFL draft, all 4 years following Josh Heupel's seasons as head coach. All 4 years Josh Heupel's been head coach, they followed up with a pretty solid NFL draft. They've had selections at least 3 all 4 years, so they're back taking over the draft. 2026, even without Nico Iamaleava, could be a big year for Tennessee in the NFL draft. Based on players who we think are likely to be starters and are likely to be eligible for the draft, we've come up with a list of guys who could go to the NFL draft next year, and we're looking at their NFL draft potential. So let's go ahead and dive in now, play a little hot or cold, the NFL draft prospects of Tennessee players for the 2026 season. We're going to name players that we think could actually leave for the draft, and players that we obviously think will leave, and players that will be out of eligibility. We're naming everybody that we expect to be in the rotation for Tennessee next year who could be eligible for the draft in 2026. And believe it or not, there is a lot of players that we need to get to. So let's go ahead and dive in. Hot or cold? Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. CityHeatandAir.com. The first one, Joey Aguilar. Don't know yet if he'll start for Tennessee, but look, as an NFL draft pick, I'm cold on him. Now, Heupel may turn him into one with his putting up video game numbers, but I just think his measurables will be so bad. He doesn't have enough arm strength, and it's just going to really hold him back when he's going to the NFL draft. So while he could ball out for Tennessee at Tennessee and Heupel's system, I'm still cold on him as a potential NFL draft pick. Chris Brazzell. I'm hot on Chris Brazzell. Chris Brazzell as a potential 2026 NFL draft pick. I think he's a late rounder, 5 to 7. He's a possession receiver, almost like Jawan Jennings, who can win physical one-on-one matchups. Won't blow you away with his speed, but he will be able to make some catches, so I'm hot on Brazzell. Now, somebody mentioned, do I got to start with Boo Carter? Restastic. Boo Carter won't be eligible for the NFL draft next year because you got to be out of high school for 3 years before you go to the draft, and I think it'll be, will he be? No, he won't be eligible for the NFL draft next year. Miles Kitselman. I'm very hot on Miles Kitselman. I think Miles Kitselman is a very, very good tight end. He was banged up in the spring, but I think he's going to get fully healthy in the fall, and I think he's going to ball out for Tennessee once he gets fully healthy. So I'm hot on him. He's a complete tight end. It's the reason Holden stays into the transfer portal. Lance Hurd. Lance Hurd will have another year of eligibility after next year, but could enter the NFL draft. I'm cold on him. He's not going to enter early. He's not going to enter the draft early. There's too many other issues with Tennessee's offensive line, so he's going to have his own issues next year. He's got to gel with them, so he's not going to boost his draft stock next year. In a year, different story, but I'm cold on him for next year. Jamal McCoy. Oh, gosh, extremely hot on him. You already see many prognosticators having him as a projected first-round NFL draft pick next year, 2026. Jamal McCoy, I am extremely hot on as a potential NFL draft pick. Bryson Eason. I'm hot on him as a late round draft pick. Like, I'm talking 5 to 7 round again, something like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he signs as an undrafted free agent, but he's a very reliable defensive tackle in the system, so I am hot on him. Tyree West, hot on him again. I think Tyree West is the best on the line of scrimmage defensive end that Tennessee has. Makes a lot of big plays doing it. So I think Tyree West can definitely fit into a system, particularly a 3-4 system in the NFL. Jackson Moy, I'm hot on him, but barely. I think, again, 6th, 7th round, I see he'll play a larger role this year, and I could see a Jesse Mahalona type from him because they were both kind of shorter guys that use their leverage to make plays. So I'm actually hot on Jackson Moy. Joshua Josephs, I'm cold on him. I respect the game Joshua Josephs plays. I respect his style. I think the coaches love him. He does everything right. And I think he's a very productive player. I think he benefited a lot from James Pierce on the other side last year. I think he's going to need somebody to benefit him this year playing on the other side, whether that be Jordan Ross or somebody like that. I think with that in mind, Joshua Josephs is not actually going to be physically gifted enough to be an NFL draft pick. Dominic Bailey, I feel the same way as a defensive end on the front line of scrimmage. Just not going to be physically gifted enough to go to the pros. A solid college player, but I just think there's only so much he can do. Arian Carter. All right. Guys, I'm hot on Arian Carter. Arian Carter returns with Jeremiah Thielander in the linebacker roles. They have played together. They have experience playing together. He now has experience as a full-year starting, and he's the most physically gifted player for his position of anybody at Tennessee this year. I think Arian Carter could easily play himself into a first-round draft pick next year because I think he really is that good. I think Arian Carter is dangerous. Watch out for him. So you can get linebackers Jeremiah Thielander. Cold on him. Maybe an NFL draft pick one day. I don't think he's going to leave for the NFL draft next year, though, even though he could. Andre Turrentine. I'm cold on him. Developed well, but I just think there's some physical limitations for Turrentine that I think are going to hurt him. So I just don't see how Andre Turrentine could end up making his way to the NFL. Same with Jalen McMurray. I'm cold on him. I think Jalen McMurray is a solid role-playing cornerback and will be a solid in Tennessee's system as a defensive back next year, but I'm cold on him actually making it into the NFL. I just think he's got physical limitations. And we got one more player coming back. First, a quick message from City Heating and Air Conditioning. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heat and Air.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Caleb Calhoun here. And finally, we look at the last player as a potential NFL draft pick for the Vols next year, and that would be Ricky Gibson III. I'm cold on him. Ricky Gibson III is a very solid number 2 cornerback. He's going to be a solid cornerback next year, but he's going to be thrust into the number 1 role early because Jamal McCoy is banged up, and I don't think he's capable of handling that role, and it's going to make him look really, really bad, and that's going to hurt his draft stock as an underclassman, so I think he'll have to come back for his senior year. So I'm very cold on Ricky Gibson. next year being an NFL draft pick. 2 years, different story, but next year, I just don't see how he becomes an NFL draft pick. Honestly, I think that it's just not going to work. So when you look at guys that I think could be drafted next year, Chris Brazel, Miles Kitselman, Jermon McCoy, Bryson Eason, Tyree West, Jackson Moy, Arian Carter, Jeremiah Thielander. That's 8 players from Tennessee this year that I think could be drafted next year, which would be a really good draft. I don't think all of them will get drafted, but I do think that speaks to where Tennessee is as a program, that there are, yes, 8 players who could get drafted. I'm going to set up the poll question real quick on who is Tennessee's best NFL draft prospect. We're going to go ahead and set that up now because I'll tell you who I think the best of those are. So who is Tennessee's best 2026 NFL draft prospect? We're going to say Jermon McCoy. I think Jermon McCoy is just an obvious one. I think Arian Carter. I know he is a junior, but I think he could be an elite player next year or next year for Tennessee, and then turn himself into an NFL draft prospect. I'm extremely high on him. Miles Kitselman is obviously a dangerous one. So we're going to name him because we're talking about a tight end that could become an elite player. And I'm going to throw out, for my own purposes, Chris Brazel, and because he did show quite a bit of talent last year. So those are the 4. Who is Tennessee's best 2026 NFL draft prospect? Jermon McCoy, Arian Carter, Miles Kitselman, or Chris Brazel II. Those are my top 4. I'm probably ranking Jermon McCoy number 1, Arian Carter number 2, Miles Kitselman number 3, Chris Brazel number 4. The only reason Miles Kitselman is down at number 3 is I think he's going to hurt his draft stock a bit next year because it's going to take him a little bit of time to get as healthy as he needs to be. And that can cause some issues, but that doesn't mean I'm not high on him. I want to be very clear on that. I'm still high on Miles Kitselman. So I think that I think Miles Kitselman will be a very, very, very good player in the NFL. So I say just watch out. I think that Miles Kitselman. I think those 3 specifically. I'm a little less hot on Brazel. That's probably the one I'm the least hot on between the 4 of those 4. But you had to put 4 in, and I threw Chris Brazel in. So guys, vote on that. We'll look at the poll question coming back and see what you guys think. Portions of the program are brought to you by Peak IV Hydration in South Knoxville and Sevierville. Live your life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. PeakIVHydration.com. Link in the chat. PeakIVHydration.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about some comments that a legendary Tennessee coach made about the Vols and their quarterback situation. Stick with us 2 minutes.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air. Dare to compare.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. Caleb Calhoun here. Portions of the program brought to you by Quality Tire Pro, serving Chattanooga community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service, automotive, brake alignments, oil changes, and more. QualityTirePros.com. Walk in and say Off the Hook sent you. Say, hey, Bo, Off the Hook sent you. QualityTirePros.com. All righty. We're going to talk a little bit now about former Tennessee football head coach Phillip Fulmer. Fulmer, who obviously coached Tennessee from 1992 to 2008, was quoted Tuesday morning in an article by Adam Sparks on how to handle Joey Aguilar and Jake Merklinger. And he says that Tennessee's team culture and talent has shown that the Vols can manage a tough quarterback situation. And his exact quote, I'm going to give you a few quotes by Fulmer real quick. First one, if they've got a good quarterback room, the older guys and returning guys are going to help the new ones. When that happens, you've got something special. Then the playing time will work itself out on the field. Fulmer later, who himself coached true freshmen 3 times, and Peyton Manning, Casey Clausen, and Eric Ainge on the field. He maintained team harmony was huge for those teams. He said everybody wants the same thing, and that's a chance to win championships. That has to stay at the forefront of everything. He said that it's up to the team leaders to take charge, the older guys, to determine how this will go. His exact quote is, the older guys have to be the leaders. You have to make sure this happens the right way. The off-the-field stuff like the locker room and meeting room and socially, that's where any team needs to be strong before finding their quarterback. And look, this is unique coming from Phillip Fulmer. And another thing he said was, talking about Ainge, Manning, and Clausen, he goes, when you've got a new quarterback, you put more pressure on your best players. All 3 of those first-year quarterbacks, Ainge, Clausen, and Manning, had the benefits of great running backs and an experienced offensive line and a defense that could give you a chance. Coach Heupel has had to do that before and will again. Now, that seems like all political talk and things like that, but I think it's very relevant coming from Phillip Fulmer for this reason. Fulmer has had some of his greatest success at Tennessee with new quarterbacks. As everybody remembers, Tennessee won the national title in 1998. He said something in those comments that really stuck out to me, which is you put more pressure on the other players when you got a new quarterback. Guys, one of the biggest reasons I think Tennessee won the 98 national title and didn't win it in 97 with Peyton Manning was because with Peyton Manning leaving and T. Martin stepping in at Tennessee, I think a lot of players who were already great realized they had to step their game up just another level a bit because of the fact that they weren't going to have Peyton Manning there to bail them out. And that makes a huge difference. If you just want to go to Alabama and Nick Saban's situation, let's just talk about them. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa never won a national title as a starter for a full season. Bryce Young never won a national title as a starter for a full season. You know who did? A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy, Jake Coker. Saban's best quarterbacks weren't winning national titles. And I think a lot of times, as good as his teams were, they were taking plays off a little bit when they felt they could rely on Bryce Young to make plays. At Tennessee, the question becomes, does Tennessee have the leadership from upperclassmen and guys like that to make sure they are still successful? And will they step up their game? Last year, I think you saw given all the hype behind Nico Iamaleava, it's highly possible that some players took plays off expecting Nico and Josh Heupel's system to be able to bail them out. That's not going to be the case now. Mentally speaking, they all know they have to step up their game because of the quarterback situation. Now, there were other issues. You had injuries at offensive tackle. Both tackle spots were hurt last year. Your wide receiver position, Drew McCoy, should not have started last year. He wasn't ready coming back from injury. He just wasn't fully healthy. On top of that, you had Squirrel White playing in the slot with a hurt shoulder, and Dante Thornton had played banged up his whole career on college at Tennessee, and he also was coming off a season-ending injury. So I think the receiving unit's already going to be better this year with Chris Brazzell locked in as one of the guys, and I think Mike Matthews locked in as the other. Both are a lot more healthy than the guys we're talking about were last year, which is a really big deal. So part of this is health. But at the same time, it's not like guys didn't step up last year when the offense wasn't doing what it needed to do. The interior blocking was great. Dylan Sampson was elite. The defense we talked about has really took a step forward. I mean, Tennessee's defense was incredible last year at different times. So there were a lot of players that did step up in different roles. I think the question is, do the wide receivers, specifically who are being acclimated into this system because they're all new starters, are they prepared to not just be acclimated anymore, realize they've really got to step up? I think that's the real big story about this, and that's kind of what Fulmer was alluding to. A quick message from Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location.
I want to get to our poll question before we resume this topic. Who is Tennessee's best 2026 NFL draft prospect? Jamon McCoy, Arian Carter, Miles Kitselman, and Chris Brazel II. Jamon McCoy leads by a plurality at 46%. Arian Carter second at 29%. Miles Kitselman third at 18%. And Chris Brazel fourth at 7%. Now, building off what Phillip Fulmer said, who will step up and be the leader the Vols need amidst the new QB situation? And it's obviously got to be somebody on offense. So we're going to go Mike Matthews. No, we won't go Mike Matthews. We won't go there. We're going to say, I mean, guys, Tennessee is so young on offense. I would say Chris Brazel, Miles Kitselman, maybe Lance Hurd. I'm going for upperclassmen, guys. That's why I'm saying all these players. So bear with me. And then the other one you could say, I mean, I'm talking about, think of returning upperclassmen on the offense. There's just not many when you really think about it. Not many returning upperclassmen on the offense at all. So I think the only guy I could really probably say that's a third-year player on this front is maybe you. Who do you guys think? You guys chime in. I mean, Tennessee's looking younger and younger as you look at their offense and the breakdown of their offense. How about this? We'll say somebody on defense. Or Boo Carter. Well, yeah, Boo Carter. Even though he's not an upperclassman, he's acting like one because he's so much of a leader of this team. Who will step up and be the leader the Vols need amidst the new QB situation? Chris Brazel, Miles Kitselman, Lance Hurd, and Boo Carter. I think Miles Kitselman would be the best. He's experienced. He produced last year at a high level, fully healthy, and will be the #1 tight end next year. But I think that's a big deal over who steps up. Tennessee's got a lot of things to work out, guys. They have a lot of things to work out. But I think Phillip Fulmer is really pointing out that the leadership is very important. And by the way, to Phillip Fulmer's credit, when you talk about the 98 team with T. Martin winning a national title where players need to step up, the other one was obviously the 2014. And for those who don't remember, Tennessee went 10-2 in the 2003 regular season. They then lost the Peach Bowl to Clemson. Casey Clausen left. They were totally considered a rebuilding team in 2004. Were considered one of the top 5 teams on the decline by multiple magazine outlets. People thought that without Clausen, they were going to fall apart. C.J. Leak was a projected starter. People didn't believe in him. And Fulmer made the bold move to start true freshmen Eric Ainge and Brent Schaefer and alternate them at quarterback for the first 4 games of the year instead of C.J. Leak or Rick Clausen. Eventually, Ainge won the starting role, but he got hurt. Schaefer got hurt. Rick Clausen had to come in and finish the season. And amidst that quarterback chaos, Fulmer went 10-3. And the rest of the team really notably stepped their game up. 2 of those losses were to Auburn, the team that went undefeated and should have won the national title that year. And then the third loss was to Notre Dame in the game where Eric Ainge got hurt at halftime and they had to bring Rick Clausen in and weren't prepared. The reason I'm bringing all of that up is that Phillip Fulmer, the reason he was so successful in 2004 was the rest of the team really stepped up amidst the quarterback issue. And Fulmer talks about it all the time, how fun that team was to coach. Now, of course, the next year, then the team relied on its press clippings and the talent surrounding it. And the quarterback debacle became a disaster because they couldn't pick between Rick Clausen and Eric Ainge, and Tennessee stumbled to 5-6. That was poorly managed. But with the lack of expectations surrounding the quarterback, Phillip Fulmer did have a bit of a big advantage, and it showed. So I think Fulmer's very qualified to talk about this situation with Tennessee going forward. And I think that's why he made his comments that he did. Portions of the program are brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com, RickTerryJewelry.com. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what Paul Finebaum said about the Vols. First, stick with us 2 minutes off the hook sports.
Like a blast from the past, the Super Dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The Super Dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the Super Dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute.
Welcome back to Off the Hook Sports. It is time for This Day in Tennessee Sports History. We're going to get to that now before we close out the show. This Day in Tennessee Sports History brought to you by Work Trucks. They're all about trucks that are actually available. Trucks that help you maximize your profits by having the right work vehicle now. Time is money. The perfect work vehicle doesn't break down and has all the space to carry what you need. That's what Work Trucks is intent on offering, while other dealerships just can't do it. Contracting is about time. Work Trucks saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with the nap hide work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Truck supplies vehicles to people just like you and gets you back on the road tomorrow. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks, and that's a fact. Service industry, remember Work Trucks. Work Trucks carries the trucks that your business has to have. You need Work Trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville and in downtown Birmingham. For the entire inventory, go online to worktrucksllc.com. Work Trucks with an X. Why risk chancing your future in business on the wrong piece of equipment that burns your time? Worktrucksllc.com. Work Trucks will also work to make sure you have the perfect vehicle you have to have. They'll even find a perfect truck, outfit it, and make sure it fits your needs to a T. Work Trucks with an X. LLC.com. Worktrucksllc.com. Proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. On this day in Tennessee sports history, back in 2017, 4 Vols were taken on the 3rd day of the NFL draft. Those Vols included Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Josh Malone, and Josh Dobbs. 3 Vols were taken on the 3rd day of the NFL draft with Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Josh Malone, and Josh Dobbs. They followed Derek Barnett, who was taken in the 1st round, and Alvin Kamara and Cam Sutton, who were taken on the 3rd round, which was the 2nd day of the draft. This wrapped up 6 players getting drafted in the 2017 draft after Tennessee went without anybody drafted in 2015 and 2016. That was the most players Tennessee had drafted since the 2010 NFL draft, and the first time ever they had that many drafted in the first 4 rounds. They had made history. Unfortunately, the year before with Butch Jones, despite that talent, they could only go 9-4 for a 2nd straight year. It was a massively underachieving year. We know what happened the next year. The bottom fell out in 2017, and Tennessee went to 4-8. This day in Tennessee sports history, also brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. Facebook.com/sports treasures TN. Facebook.com/sports treasures TN. To our poll question, who will step up and be the leader for the Vols amidst the new quarterback situation? Chris Brazel, 0%. Miles Kitselman, 55%. Lance Hurd, 9%. Boo Carter, 36%. Miles Kitselman actually has the lead by a majority at 55%. Boo Carter second at 36%. Timothy McGee asked a question. Is Heupel and company stubborn or don't like starting true freshmen? Do you think if the you-know-what hits the fan and the two quarterbacks get hurt, can this staff develop George McIntyre? I think they could, Timothy. I think Heupel, as confident and cocky as he is about his play calling ability, is not confident and cocky about in his ability to evaluate quarterbacks. I think he's very insecure about it, and I think he knows he's missed on quite a few. And so I think that's his biggest issue. He's not confident in how he evaluates them coming out of high school. I think that's where it comes from. All right, so moving on to the final topic. Paul Finebaum addressed Tennessee's new situation recently. Paul Finebaum, the mouse of the South, who has been known for covering Alabama but did graduate Tennessee, gave Tennessee credit for moving on from Nico. He said it was the right call and talked about how they had already been held hostage to a degree by Nico Iamaleava and his people after going to bat for him about a year ago. They fought because the NCAA wanted to rule him ineligible. They gave him a chance, and he did help Tennessee get to the playoff. But as Finebaum said, the bigger story was beyond Nico as an inflection point in college football. It was the first time that there was a literal holdout. Happens every day in the NFL. And Paul Finebaum gave Tennessee a ton of credit for holding its ground and not playing him. And moving on for him. However, he does say it's time to worry about Tennessee this year. Paul Finebaum said, quote, recently, I think you have to worry about Tennessee. You have to be worried about Tennessee. Quote, I know that I'm not breaking a news story here, but what is the quarterback situation really going to be like? Listen, Aguilar is serviceable. They have two backups who have no experience, but I think that's a tremendous drop-off. He says later, considering Georgia's right out of the chute, at Alabama, at Florida, you have to be a little worried about them. So the combination of the quarterback drop-off and the scheduling, according to Paul Finebaum, is enough to be worried about Tennessee going into the 2024 season. Should there be worry about the Vols? Should there be greater worry about the Vols given the fact that Nico Iamaleava is no longer on the team? How much of a drop-off will be noticeable from Nico Iamaleava to Joey Aguilar? Okay. Bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Make, member FDIC, Life Made Better. Tennessee does not need to worry about the drop-off at quarterback from Nico to Joey Aguilar and what that'll do to their team because of what can happen elsewhere. Bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank, member FDIC. Tennessee does not need to worry about its quarterback situation.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank.
Welcome back to the program, and I've got the poll question up. Is going from Nico Iamaleava to Joey Aguilar. Calls for Vols to worry about the 2025 season. Yes or no? Bank on it. I'm going to say no. Now, let me say this. Does not mean Tennessee is going to be a great season. That does not mean they're going to be elite. What I'm here to say is they're not going to fall off that much, if at all, from where they were before this switch happened. Two reasons. Actually, three. I'm going to go three. One, Joey Aguilar is a veteran. He makes quicker reads. That's good for Josh Heupel's system. Two, there's an argument, and Will West has made this argument, that Joey Aguilar is a better fit for Josh Heupel's system than Nico Iamaleava. And 3, and this is a big deal, the money Tennessee has saved in NIL is going to allow them, and we talked about this last week, to add other players in the portal who could upgrade their talent. When you factor that in, even with the drop-off at quarterback, they'll have talent elsewhere that's willing to step up. And so I think that Tennessee doesn't need to worry overall, because I think the drop-off in quarterback play, even if there is a drop-off in quarterback play, will be outweighed by the talent they're going to get elsewhere. That's been something I've been big on the whole time about this situation. And again, there's an argument that Aguilar is the better player. Now, again, Travis says Aguilar won't be our starter. Travis, there's a very good argument that George McIntyre or Jake Merklinger will win the job. We heard about Jake Merklinger signing a new contract. It's very possible he wins the job. It's possible George McIntyre is the guy for the future. So we still don't know how this is all going to play out. However, truth be told, I think Tennessee is actually in a much more interesting situation than people realize. So I think Paul Finebaum is actually, I don't know if he's right that you should be worried about Tennessee. I'm just going to be honest with you on that. I understand what he's saying. I get where he's going. Just the drop off at quarterback is going to make for an issue. But look, I don't think I think Josh Heupel's we talk about learning the system. Josh Heupel's system is actually very easy to pick up. Now, developing to play in college football may matter more, which is why he wants more experienced quarterbacks, because just adjusting to play in college football in general is tough. But learning Josh Heupel's system specifically is actually very easy for a quarterback. So you got to give him credit for that. Now, as far as the schedule goes, because he brought up Georgia, Florida, and at Alabama. Well, I'm going to be honest with you guys. And this is something that I felt was a concern even when Nico was there. I feel like there's nothing about those games that has changed anyway to begin with. Even with Nico, I felt that they were in danger against Georgia because Jamal McCoy has an ACL tear, and while he is expected to be back, I don't think he'll be 100% early. So I think he'll be banged up when they play Georgia, so that could wreck them. I think that Alabama and Florida both being on the road in October and November, both will be significantly better this year. I think with Nico, they probably already might have lost those games anyway. So there are reasons to worry about Tennessee and the Vols in 2025. I actually don't think the drop off at quarterback is the reason for that, though. I think there are so many other things going on. Now, as far as the poll question, man, it is a 50-50 split. Is going from Nico Iamaleava to Joey Aguilar calls for Vols to worry about the 2005 season. 50% say yes, 50% say no. I think there's cause to worry about the 2025 season, but not because of going from Nico Iamaleava to Joey Aguilar, believe it or not. I actually really don't believe that. So I know that sounds crazy. I know you guys think that the big question would be the quarterback situation, but again, the fact that Tennessee play not a huge drop-off as expected, they could have a better fit for their system, and they saved NIL money, and they've been able to direct those funds elsewhere. I think when you put that all together, I think you got to be honest. I think Tennessee has a great chance to actually maybe even be better. Now, David Speaks says Syracuse will be a good barometer for how good a chance they have against Georgia. David, that's a great point. And guys, don't sleep on Syracuse as the opening game. Okay. I think Tennessee is going to win that game. I think they're like 3 touchdown favorites now. But remember, that game's in Atlanta, which is technically a neutral site. Okay, there will be more Tennessee fans there. But Fran Brown is in his second season, and he just went in his first season at Syracuse, went 10-3. They finished in the top 25. And he did that with a team that was 6-7 the year before. So Fran Brown is already showing promise at Syracuse. And we're talking about a guy that great defensive coach. He has experience in the SEC because he was Georgia's defensive backs coach in 2022, 2023. And they also have a very, very good offensive coordinator in Jeff Nixon, who he found as the Giants running backs coach. But this guy did a very good job calling plays last year, helping out Jeff Nixon to run that offense, is Mike Johnson, who was actually in his third season at Syracuse, funny enough, but promoted to offensive coordinator. He's had experience at Florida Atlantic. He's had experience working under at Mississippi State and Joe Moorhead's offense. He's had NFL experience. So Fran Brown was running a very good program at Syracuse, guys. We have to be we have to look at them as a potential decent measuring stick for Tennessee as far as the poll question goes. Now, some people, it's about 53% say no. The drop-off will be cause from Vols to worry about the 2025 season. We're going to have to see how that plays out. Thank you guys for dealing with me on the show today. I've been battling a not cold, but just an insane amount of pollen and sinuses. It's been driving me absolutely crazy. So it's kind of interesting. Someone brought up that Tennessee could be playing against Steve Angeli now, because that is true. Steve Angeli going to Syracuse could make that a very interesting game. And Fran Brown is a great coach of quarterbacks. But even after Syracuse, you got Georgia in September. Look, 2-2 is on the table for Tennessee in September. And then with the new quarterback, just things could really spiral. So we'll just have to see how that all works out. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win. Why settle? Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com. Live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. Ted Russell Ford Lincoln is your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used. East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer. We're cutting the show a little short today. Thank you guys for bearing with me through, I guess, a hay fever is what you call it, whatever, with these sinus infections. Please hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell, turn your notifications on, tell a friend. Building something great here at Off the Hook Sports wants you to be a part of it. And we are live every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back on tomorrow. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in with Caleb Calhoun. This has been a presentation of